hoping the recording has started. So yeah, my name is Cyprus Ocheng. I believe a lot of you already know who I am. I'll be moderating today's session. And again, I've been able to see while looking at the attendance today that we have a few new entrants and new stakeholders on the call. So for the sake of our new stakeholders, welcome to the eCooking Community of Practice. This is a platform where we aim to bring stakeholders within the clean cooking sector and the electricity access sector to help us strengthen and enhance the growing Kenya's e-cooking sector. So at this point, we might not even be allowed to say it's growing because there's been a lot of development, a lot of initiatives going on within the e-cooking space. So I think there's been very evident growth in this particular sector. So I think probably our introduction will be changing to the growing e-cooking community of practice, or rather e-cooking sector. So we also have a WhatsApp group where we normally share a lot of opportunities. We share these dialogues, and we also share resources. So if you're not on that WhatsApp group, we will also share the link as we progress on the WhatsApp for purposes of our new members. And of course, we only have limited time for this dialogue, so we will encourage individuals to please introduce yourself on the chat, and please also ask questions as we continue with the session. So today's dialogue, as you can see from the slide, we are going to be looking at something really different. Yeah. So a lot of our conversations has previously focused on technologies, energy access, financing. Sorry, someone is muted. Can we mute?
Mambo. Naona story ya pesa hata sasa hivi tulikuwa kwa mkutano nilikuwa.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, so I was saying that a lot of our conversations have previously focused on technologies, energy access, financing, and policy, among other things. But today, as you can see from our introduction, we are going to be focusing on a new emerging opportunity, which is pre-cooking. So we are going to be having a number of speakers on the call. They're already on the call, who are going to share with us some of the insights from their research and also practical perspective, just to understand what are some of the emerging opportunities within the pre-cooking ecosystem, and how is that generally changing our thinking around food preparation? How is it making e-cooking more practical for households? And also, what are some of the business opportunities that the entrepreneurs can have when they take that route of pre-cooking as an innovation, or rather a model that they want to embed within their businesses. So we have we have four speakers, sorry, on the call, but we will be starting by hearing from our colleague, Dr. Ain, who is a senior research associate at MEX. Let me pull that slide. Yeah, so we'll be hearing from Dr. Ain Polesl, Senior Research Associate from Modern Energy Cooking Services Program. She's a trained product designer. Ain is also experienced in designing objects, conducting user experience research, and managing research projects. So in the past 6 years, Ain has worked at the intersection of energy and social challenges in the Global South, focusing on behavior change and user acceptance of product, services, and intervention. So today, Ain will be presenting on strengthening pre-cooked businesses in Kenya. And we have also a case of Ghana and Nigeria within our presentation. And we hope that she's going to provide for us a context that is going to help us with the subsequent discussion that will also feature other speakers. So I would like to give Aini the opportunity to maybe tell us more about her work. And of course, you can always do a better introduction of yourself and what you do, and then you can also take us through the research work that you've done on the cook food businesses for those particular 3 country cases. So Aini, over to you.
Thank you, Cyprus. No, that was a great introduction. I have nothing to add. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm gonna start with the presentation that you've already briefly introduced. Can you see my screen? And can you see the slides changing?
Yeah. We can.
Yes, I can see it.
Brilliant. Great. So, as Cyprus mentioned, I'm going to introduce 3 projects that Max recently worked on in the pre-cook sector. And maybe just to kick off, to give like a specific definition of what is pre-cooked food. So pre-cooked food is either batch or mass-produced food, which is partially or fully cooked before the final cooking or reheating by restaurants or customers at home. So we all use it, and we all kind of roughly familiar what that is. So it is also, as Cyprus mentioned, emerging and really growing sector in many global South countries. It's also likely to continue to increase with urbanization trends. And Mex has done quite a lot of work in commercial, institutional, and industrial cooking. So this is where we see pre-cook sector fall into. So it's also a great interest of Mex program too. So talking about the projects that I want to introduce to you today, strengthening pre-cooked food businesses in East and West Africa. So at the end of last year, between September and February, Mex worked with 3 businesses aiming to support them in upgrading their pre-cook processes with electric cooking specifically. So it was it was only 5-month project, and we are very pleased with the results and very happy to see the results. That's why we wanted to share them with all of you. And talking about these 3 projects, so they are one organization in Kenya, so you'll be hearing from Washington, who is the CEO of Nyumbani Greens, that currently offer perhaps now a bit more products, but at the time when we worked with them last year, the main focus was pre-cooked and fermented African indigenous vegetables. So those you're probably familiar with: merinda, managu, kunde, terere, and a much broader range than that. Beans and githeri, and Kenyan chicken. So those were the products that Nyumbani Greens offer. Then we also worked with organization in Ghana called Deli Mush, and their key focus was on canned mushrooms in tomato, pepper, onion, oshito sauces, so different sauces of canned mushrooms, fortified mushroom biscuits, and mushroom powder. And the third organization that was in Nigeria was called Atman CoP, and differently from organizations in Kenya and Ghana, Atman CoP wanted to introduce an entirely new product in their pre-cook operations, so air-fried cassava crisps. Although the company itself was offering, it was a mill, was a flour processing facility. So cassava flour and gari. So moving on, I'm going to talk about the work with each of these organizations, where we started and what we achieved by the end of the pre-cook project. So let's start with Nyumbani Greens. So the Kenyan-based business. So the original production base of Nyumbani Greens was so for githeri and chicken, they use primarily charcoal jiko stoves, as you can see in the picture. And these were also used for water heating for blanching African indigenous vegetables. They've also used LPG for water heating and blanching, say, vegetables, and also used immersion water heaters. for the same purpose. And so also worth mentioning that we have Jacob and Richard on the call, who are both involved in this project as well. And Jacob was lucky enough to visit the facility, and you can see his hand on the right-hand side. And if we have a discussion later on, I believe he could share some of the insights from that visit. But especially during that visit, we identified that the main need of the company was to boil up to 1,000 liters of water per day. So this is a huge amount, and especially if you think of heating them with inefficient appliances or charcoal or LPG, that takes tremendous amount of time. So the main focus of supporting Nyumbani Greens was to find a way how to boil that amount of water using different means. So what's been done is that the appliances that were acquired during the project were 200-liter solar water boiler. So as the company uses as a primary source of water heating, that heats water up to 90 degrees, and it also mitigates the impact of frequent main grid electricity outages. And the second appliance was the 100-liter boiler to cater for colder seasons with insufficient sunlight, so around 20% of the year. And they work in combination, and this addressed really the need to boil large amounts of waters per day for blanching, particularly blanching the vegetables. Also talking about beans and chicken. So the company acquired 4 6-liter EPCs for pre-boiling chicken and chicken stock. So chicken stock can also be offered as a product because EPC allowed them to have that kind of a byproduct, which is also has its own value. And for boiling beans and githeri, they acquired 3 10-liter EPCs. So again, the company decided to go for domestic size EPCs rather than kind of large industrial scale, because their need was to cook these foods on demand rather than cook them in large batches and then having to store them. We also supported companies buying additional appliances, not only cooking appliances, but those that support their whole supply chain, whole operations. And freezers were very important for the company because the production doubled and demand also increased because of the new cooking processes. So just to accommodate that and to accommodate having to have more raw resources to produce. So company acquired 6 new freezers that also was still still have challenges with power outages, so something that showed that solarization could be the next step. So what are the key achievements of Nyumbani Greens? Just to summarize and quickly walk through them. So for African indigenous vegetables, which is kind of the main offering of the company, the time saving was more than 70% and 3 times more production batches per shift. So for beans and githeri, the time saving was around 62%. For the chicken, the time saving was around 79%. And the new offer was that customers can now order on demand via WhatsApp with cooking and delivery times of only 1 hour. Because of the EPC and then the cooking process was much shorter. Also near zero electricity costs of water heating during solar adequate periods. So there's 80% of time of the year due to a solar water heater. So production capacity also doubled from approximately 10,000 packs to 20,000 packs per month, only in that project period of 5 months. The cold chain area improved to accommodate future expansion. The company also created new jobs. So they employed 8 women and 3 young men in delivery, with improved earnings through increased production shifts and also expanded farmer networks with guaranteed weekly uptake. So we're very, very pleased with the results of Nyumbani Greens. And moving on, let's talk about Deli Mush, so the canned mushroom company from Ghana. And their process was a bit more complex, including more appliances. So the original production base was that the company was using charcoal jiko for cooking the tomato sauce, and LPG for deep frying mushrooms. Then they've also used like prefabricated handmade sterilization, also LPG based for the cans, and electric can sealer, which was a perfectly working machine and didn't have to be changed during the project. And the biggest kind of issue that we've identified was the sterilization part. So in this device that you can see in the middle of the screen, 40 cans took 6 hours, 40 minutes to be sterilized in 3 batches. And this was the most time consuming and the process that company really wanted to address through eCooking. Then because company also offers mushroom biscuits, so they've used LPG oven, again, was prefabricated, handmade. You can see the picture in the center of the slide. They've also used a handheld mixer for dough preparation and a sealing machine. And on the left, you can also see that it was a very manual process, the actual biscuit cutting by hand, one by one. So this was also something that companies saw as a huge challenge, and wanted to improve the whole production process of these biscuits. And with the current oven, 75 biscuits was taking 2 hours, 20 minutes to cook, and having to be turned around every 15 minutes for even heat distribution because of the way the oven was made. So again, very time consuming, very fuel consuming, and yeah, very laborious as well. So what company acquired and what they managed to source locally during the project. So they decided to go for a 6-liter deep fryer for mushrooms. So they still wanted to keep the deep frying element as they usually achieve through LPG. So they got electric deep fryer, and for cooking the tomato sauce and replacing the charcoal jiko, they acquired an induction cooktop with compatible pots, and those were both were sourced locally in Ghana. Then the biggest bottleneck, the sterilization. The company bought 2 sterilizers. So these are pressurized steam sterilizers of 18 and 35 liters. And they were both shipped from China. They were not able to be acquired locally in Ghana. And also the company got the milling and filling machines that also improved their operations in terms of canning. For the biscuits, so to replace that handmade LPG oven, the company acquired 3-tray electric oven, which in comparison bakes 500 full biscuits in only 25 to 30 minutes. And this device, just to meet the tight project deadlines, was air freighted from China, because that was a crucial device, but it would have taken much longer to for it to be shipped, and we just realized we wouldn't be able to get it done on time for the project. So it was air freighted, and also the company for making biscuits and the mushroom powder. Mushrooms had to be dehydrated. So currently the company was just doing it kind of in the sun, and now they've got the commercial food dehydrator, where that allows the whole mushroom to be dried at 60 degrees for 8 hours. So that was another improvement. And then also, a company managed to get additional appliances that help them with biscuit production. So instead of the handheld mixer, they got a stand mixer, biscuit cutting machine. So as you saw, a member of the team cutting biscuits by hand. So this no longer had to be done with a biscuit cutting machine, and an improved vacuum sealer as well. So the company really updated their entire production line with electric appliances of different sorts. They've also renovated their existing facility. So they realized that they have to have a place where to put these appliances, and they really had to clean up the place and modernized it. So that was also part of the focus of the project of the company. So they really took it very seriously and managed to achieve great results. So the key achievements of Delimush is that the weekly canned mushroom production increased from 40 to 240 cans, so sixfold, which is pretty impressive. Biscuit production increased from 150 to 900 boxes with improved quality. As you can see in the picture on the left, biscuits were done in LPG stove, were burned, while on the right hand side they have a much nicer texture cooked in the electric oven. So energy cost per product unit fell by over 80%. Unit production cost dropped, improving profit margins to around 38-40%. So it's great for the company. The greatest time and energy savings came from electric steam sterilizer. So from 40 cans in 400 minutes to same 40 cans in 40 minutes. So huge time saving and energy saving too. So the company managed to expand its sales to 5 regions in Ghana, signed 13 agreements with vendors, and also created 8 direct jobs. And because of the facility, which was upgraded, the company received a permission to work with fish due to improved hygiene, and now can offer a new product, which you can see on the left, mackerel in tomato sauce. So it's something that also helps them to reach different customers that they were focusing more on vegan customers, and now they can expand their customer range by offering also fish products. So moving on to the last organization, Atman CoP, that was aiming to introduce oil-free cassava crisps. So Atman CoP is originally cassava flour processing facility. So they were not working with crisps or kind of pre-cooked products before, and they just wanted to, they just had this idea and wanted to use the project to introduce a new product. So the idea of the CEO of the company to produce cassava crisps without oil, because the aim was to have very cheap product suitable for low-income customers, and oil is apparently the most expensive part of a product when it comes to crisps. So he tried air frying crisps, and with this project we tried to find a way how to air fry at scale, because air fryers, domestic air fryers, are quite small. And after a long research, we've identified that an impingement oven, which is essentially an oven with a conveyor belt that's normally used for baking pizzas, or like melting cheese on sandwiches, or baking steaks in restaurants, could fit perfectly well for this purpose. So for testing the concept, the company acquired 16-inch, so a small size electric impingement oven, which they managed to get secondhand from the UK with a very short lead time to start testing. And once the testings were gave kind of positive results, then the company bought a much larger. So you can see the picture on the right. It's the same Lincoln oven on top of this larger Baker's Rug electric impingement oven, which was shipped from China. So which much longer lead times, but we knew that the concept has been proved, and the company then can work with a larger oven later on. So other appliances that were acquired. So for these cassava crisps, where you have to blanch them before, so the company got the 3-bay deep fryer that's used for blanching. So instead of oil, they were using water, and just the device was very suitable for preheating water up to a certain temperature that was required for blanching. So it just proved to be a very suitable device, even if it's officially a deep fryer. Also, moisture analyzer. It's very important, the moisture content in those cassava before turning them into crisps, and also a packaging machine. So product trials. So the company really did run a lot of product trials. So in total, they tried 80 combinations of different slice thickness, cassava types, moisture levels, and cooking times. Because impingement oven works with a hot air being kind of impinged to the product. So if cassava crisps are too thin, they just can be flying around in the oven. If they're too thick, they don't cook evenly, and all these sort of things. So eventually, company achieved the result, and that they were very pleased with. They achieved the crispiness, the thickness that they wanted, and actually crisp really tasted great, even without any salt added onto it. So key achievements of Atman CoP. Well, of course, it's a much earlier stage of the project, because we just trialed a completely new product. So the 500 grams of crisps were produced in 20 minutes with an energy use of approximately 41 kilowatt hour over a 9-hour production day. So the company still needs to figure out how to apply seasoning to dry oilless crisps. So this is why normally seasoning is stuck to a crisp, because there is oil. So they were thinking of maybe spraying a small amount of oil, or finding a different way how to apply seasoning. So they also want to make their facility more smart. So they're planning on installing a temperature sensor and electric current meters to monitor the performance of that oven, and to measure energy use per batch and identify deviations. So the company also aims to produce 200 kilograms of cassava crisps per day by 2027. Also, this project helped them think about introducing new products like cassava noodles, pre-cooked in the blanching machine. So once they have that product, they can think of how to utilize it even more to create new products. And also, they came to explore electricity for its gari and the flour processing production line, because they currently use diesel to create the flour and gari products. Okay, so just to summarize all these 3 projects, so 2 companies, 2 out of 3, modernized and expanded their businesses, and 1 trialed a completely new product that is ready for market within the 5-month period. In total, 13 eCooking appliances were acquired during this project. 19 direct jobs created, and also the reason why we're focusing on pre-cook is that we see a great fuel saving at the household level. So household fuel saving from reduced final cooking time. And for example, in Nyumbani Greens, estimated 70% fuel saving per meal, those customers who choose pre-cooked products. I have a small video to show, which Nyumbani Greens created, and I hope that the sound will be here, and we also have Washington on this call later in the panel, so he will be able to talk a little bit more, but I think the video helps us visualize how the company works and how these pre-cooked businesses look like. So I'll play. It's around 3 minutes, so it's not too long.
Hi everyone.
Can you hear it?
Yeah, it's audible. Thank you.
My name is Washington Ogro. I'm the founder and CEO of Nyumbani Greens. So Nyumbani Greens is an agri-food startup based in Nairobi. And essentially what we do is aggregation of African indigenous vegetables from rural parts of Kenya. We bring to Nairobi Production Center. And our value addition takes two different forms. So there's a blanching process and the fermentation process, which we then distribute to the urban dwellers using two different channels, so B2B and B2C. So B2B, we largely target institutional buyers, that is the workers, and then B2C is directly to end users, which is individuals and our working families.
Welcome to Nyumbani Greens. This is our production center. Now, here is where now we do the blacking. The ladies are actually on it. Blacking bit, the washing here. Ensure that all the vegetables are properly washed. After the washing, the process comes here to, we do now the blanching. My team now has to do the blanching. We have the boiler. So the water that we have there is already hot. So the process will be taking here will be a very short one because the water is very hot. And we expect the process to be like 15 minutes or less. So at Nyumbani Greens again, we also do Kenyeji chicken, pure Kenyeji from Western. We have another process that comes here. We do cereals, yellow beans, and we also pre-boil our chickens for some customers who wish. So we use our pressure cooker to process the customers who want quick beans. Within 15 minutes or 20 minutes, the meal is ready and it's ready to be packed and delivered to the customer. So at this point, we do the packaging. We're able to package our products to our customers. We actually pack them on 1,000 ml punnets, just as you see the ladies doing. And we actually label them to ensure that the customer knows what he's actually taking. For instance, if it is pumpkin, freshly done, well done, you can see they're green, they're only blanched, very nice. Now, at Nyumbani Greens again, we have the number of vegetables that we offer are perishable. We're able to preserve them. We use the cold chain that we have. We have quite a number. We are able to actually use powered by electricity. So all our products are safely stored in cold chains.
Okay, so thank you. I think I'll stop here. and hand it back to you, Cyprus.
Yeah, thanks, Aini. I think that was a really informative presentation. You've given us evidence from not just Kenya, but also Ghana and Nigeria, and we've been able to see what's happening in those countries without necessarily visiting those countries. So I think that was really a strong foundation for the next phase of discussion. I would like to share again my screen for this next session. Sorry, I'm trying to find my presentation. Okay. Okay, let me stop sharing that way and share it. Okay, let me just share it in a different format. Right, found it. Okay, so thank you again, Aini. I think for this next session, I would like to introduce the three panelists that I talked about when we started. So on the call, we have Washington. I think Aini has already given us a glimpse of what Nyumbani Greens is doing, but we have Washington on the call. So Washington is the founder and CEO of Nyumbani Greens, which is a modern food company that processes and delivers
I'm not hearing
traditional.
anything. Is that true for everybody else?
I can hear you myself. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I see someone's hand is up. Isaac? Okay. Yeah, so I'll proceed. So I was introducing Washington. He is the CEO and founder of Nyumbani Greens. That is a company that processes and delivers traditional indigenous African food and pre-cooked African leafy vegetables for busy urban professionals. His work primarily focuses on the intersection of food systems, technology, and health, and is actively addressing the need for nutritious and convenient transitional diets. He's also the co-founder of StartSpeak, a data and software consulting firm that builds analytical system and digital tools. On the call again, we also have Karen Atieno. Karen Atieno is the founder and operations lead of at Jikondwa Foods Limited. So Jikondwa is a Luo term that means our kitchen, but of course Karen is here. She'll elaborate more on what informed that particular name. This was the Jikondwa Foods Limited was founded in 2023. They offer food boiling services using modern e-cooking appliances, reducing dependency on, of course, biomass, and for long boiling in the peri-urban areas. Her background is in electrical engineering. Then our final panelist is, Adrian Maina. So he's the head of operations at Fion Ventures, Green Ventures. He leads the research, development, and deployment of institutional clean cooking solutions. He also oversees sales strategy and regulatory engagement, financial modeling, and operation systems. So I've done a bit of introduction based on what they told me or what they shared, but I do believe that they are in a better position to introduce themselves. So I will start by asking the panel, and maybe Adrian, because I'm on your screen, I'm on your slide. Maybe could you briefly introduce yourself, what your organization does, and what is your contribution to the emerging pre-cooking ecosystem? So why this business model? So we'll start with Adrian, and then we will go to Karen, and then Washington, you can take it last. Take it away, Adrian.
Thank you,
And please
Cyprus.
turn your video so that we can also see who is speaking. Thank you.
Give me 1 second so I align that. Hope you can see me now.
Oh yeah, we can go on.
Right. Okay, so first and foremost, thank you, Cyprus, for the introduction, and thank you everyone for inviting me to be able to join this forum. So my name is Adrian Maina, and I lead operations here at Green Ventures Limited. Our work ideally focuses on manufacturing kitchen appliances at focus in terms of reducing costs for institutions, with our flagship product being eCooking, which is an institutional electric pressure cooker, which ideally is the innovation that I will talk about today, because it pertains on matters concerning the pre-boiling that we ideally advocate also to institutions upon our installations. So our eCooking ideally comes in different capacities. So we do from 50 liters all the way to 600 liters, just to be able to meet all the different needs of clients that we have. So that's, you can imagine a school, a hospital, a commercial kitchen, that could be a restaurant or hotel. Provided it's an institution, that is ideally our target audience that we're trying to look out for. So ideally with eCooking, bearing in mind it is a pressure cooker, you can imagine the current use here locally would be ideally to be cooking staple foods that we usually cook. So that's it, beans, githeri, green grams. For some schools and hotels, we've seen using lentils, or some would like to call them kamande. So previously been able to see that huge change from them taking about 4 hours to some schools 5 hours, depending on the type of firewood that they're using, to now just doing it all under 1 hour. And for us, it doesn't matter what particular capacity that you're using, you still be able to attain the same time, and you still be able to save on costs. Ideally, the bigger the capacity, the cost might be, in terms of consumption of electricity, might be higher as compared to a 50 liter, but all in all, the costs are really low in comparison to use of firewood and other fuel, biomass fuels. So ideally, just to touch on the types of innovation that we've been trying to work on at Green Ventures Limited, is that despite us being able to bring the cooking times under 1 hour, the difference that ideally comes to us clearly to be able to ensure that pre-cooking is not only a nice idea, but for us translates to a workable business, is mainly because that time is a really big factor for us. And for us, we also see time as a factor of cost and energy all in one. And therefore, our optimum goal while coming up with different pressure cookers and different iterations and updates for the cookers is ideally to be able to reduce on all these three. And just to be able to touch on this is, over time, we've now been coupling this with alongside solar hybrid energy systems that we ideally now install in accordance to the request by the client. Something that we also advocate because it overall helps to reduce in the costs for the cooker. Sorry, for the running of the cookers, and also for the institutions, such that they're able to enjoy more needs. Because you can compare using solar against grid, right? You are able to achieve maybe close to 90% savings while using solar. Mainly I say this because the remaining 10% for you to achieve 100 is mainly because you're using solar hybrid system. So in events whereby like there's no proper UV light coverage, especially during the cloudy days, you might find that the system needs to kick into using grid electricity. So that's just to cover for that cost. Against now using grid electricity, whereby you can have up to savings of about 70% from your previous using. And this we've been able to do this through the different installations that we've been able to do, and also our initial pilots that we used to do to be able to perform on this basis. So ideally, the final piece that we ideally talk about, just to touch on the innovation that touches on the pre-cooking, is that for all this to work, it's easy to overlook the type of preparation that we need to help, ideally, let's say, the cooks to best prepare the food. Ideally, so for instance, you can imagine putting unsoaked beans into a pressure cooker as compared to putting soaked beans in a pressure cooker. From our studies, and I believe for everyone else who has experience in this, is that pre-boiled beans ideally helps, or staple food ideally helps to cut down the time. And therefore, by cutting down the time, you also cut down the energy cost and also cut the cost for running the operations of the cooker entirely, other than electricity. And therefore, in mind of this and in light of this, we ideally try as much as possible to drive the education that we really need to these cooks and also for the institutions or the stakeholders of these particular cookers, such that we leave them at a place whereby they know how to best optimize the technologies that they're actually getting, and for them to actually enjoy the impact of having those particular technologies. So, and that has been really crucial for us. And again, also incorporating some of the feedback that we've been able to be given. Ideally, there are some who say like they don't necessarily need to be. Also, water is a cost for schools, and water being used to soak can ideally be wasted. So, in ways they try to save on this is by identifying what type, especially for days of githeri. You find that they're maize, or ideally, really hard, and the ones that are ideally soft after being sun-dried. So those ones that are ideally hard are the ones who need to be even soaked overnight. But for the ones that are ideally soft, they ideally don't need to, just to be able to serve on course, which is also something that you're ideally learning as you go on by. It's also great that I'm also sharing this with everyone else for their own consumption also. And hopefully maybe it's another learning, also another consumption tip that everyone else is maybe seeing out there. But overall, finally, I just need to be able to talk on our distribution and maybe the after sales model. So we may currently be working on, alongside our own internal sales team, alongside other distributors who've been wanting to distribute our products. I particularly have some in Kenya, and we also have some in Uganda who've been trying to propel these technologies, and ideally helping all in all to be able to drive this particular technology and using this particular release of our cookers or commercialization of our cookers into the market, and helping in best ways to preparation and best ways to optimize our systems to best achieve the impact that they're looking out for, which is ideally on cost and saving on time, is ideally met at the end of the day. So the technology not only delivers pre-cooking solutions, it also helps to save on costs. So, and ideally helps to keep the systems running reliably and also sustainably for these institutions at the end of the day. Yeah. Thank you, Cyprus.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. That was very comprehensive. And I think you've already even touched on some of the questions that I had for you on value proposition, and also just addressing your distribution models. So thank you for the in-depth overview of what you guys do. Karen, could you also do the same in 5 minutes, if you can?
Thank you so much, Cyprus, for that. And thank you for bringing the 5 minutes up, because I was just picking on what to say, not to say. Anyone meeting me for the first time, I am Karen. We have probably met with some of us in a different capacity where I work at Kijani. I still work there for the record. And for the reason I am here today is that I am the co-founder of a business enterprise called Jikondwa Foods Limited. And like Cyprus said, Jikondwa is a Luo native word to mean our kitchen. And so we are based primarily in Kisumu, with currently having 2 outlets. And we offer food boiling as a service. And we also offer sale of pre-boiled foods. So essentially is you can bring your food to our kitchen to be boiled for you, but also for affordability and just to ensure everyone has food. We also sell pre-boiled batches at an affordable cost of 20 shillings per serving. And the photos displayed on the screen, the very first one that is on my right is when we began the business. So the business essentially began after a study that was conducted by MEX sometime in 2022, and my household was one of the households that was participating. It was to understand the feasibility of eCooking, 100% eCooking for Kenyan households. And by grace, I was one of the households that was participating. And so when the study came to an end, it was a period of 6 months. When that came to an end, I saw the potential in the locality where I was staying just to offer food boiling as a service. And so I took a period of about 9 months actually, just piloting the business, because I really didn't have a model. I just knew that this is something that we could scale. This is something that could actually work for my local community and reduce the cost on biomass fuel, as well as saving time, particularly in the peri-urban areas. And so that is where we began from. And so we began as Elegant Kitchen. And because of the locality I was serving, the name was not essentially communicating what we were doing as a business. And so I went through an accelerator program and then got to come to a name change that we currently have, Jikondwa Foods Limited, in 2024. And then at the end of 2024, we did register business as a private limited company. And we moved the operations from my kitchen, where I was only having 2 EPCs, so one courtesy of MEX program, and the second one I bought as a leap of faith to see if the business would actually work. So the business outgrew my kitchen, and then I got a space also very close where I went to, try and pilot the commercial scale of it and what that would look like. And so until now, the business has been growing, and our target market moved from households. And because the locality has a lot of university students, they also became a target market, particularly for pre-boiled batches, with households leading in food boiling as a service. But also we have 12 ECDs that we serve on a weekly basis, that is selling to them pre-boiled beans, sometimes dengu, sometimes githeri, depending on what they need. So we have 12 ECDs, and a number of households we serve with an average of 8 food cooked weekly, that is to serve the households and even the buyers who are just buying in batches. So the reason we took a period of 9 months, other than to understand the feasibility of the business, in as much as I had interacted with the EPCs, I wasn't sure what the SOPs would look like for the different foods and for the different customer needs. And the most important thing was to build trust, because for any service to prosper, there has to be trust between the service provider and even the target customers. And that is how Jikondwa Foods Limited came to being. So I think, Cyprus, I'll stop there and maybe pick up any parts of the conversation. So on the left is a picture of where we currently have our first shop. That is the first shop, with the back end being the kitchen and the front end now, because to complement also operations is we also have dry cereals. So you can essentially a customer can essentially just make an order, and then there's no need to run around looking for the ingredients. We have them in store. And so that is what Jikondwa Foods Limited currently does. Thank you, Cyprus, for that.
Thank you. Please mute, Beth. Okay. Let me try mute. Okay. Thank you, Beth, for that. Yeah, so thank you again, Karen. I think we're already getting a lot of insights from just your introduction of what the business is, and also already showing the importance of support for small businesses in order for them to grow. But I don't want to delve by synthesizing what you've just talked about, because we'll have a session for that. And at this juncture, I think I want to give it to Washington, but I do feel like Washington, we sort of have already done a bit of introduction to what you guys do. So I think with you, then we will want to also just understand, because according to Dr. Ain's presentation, those were some of the information or other research that was done before you guys were able to scale. And I think there's a lot that is already going on at the Nyumbani Greens that may not have been captured in that particular presentation. So as you tell us about your business model, maybe could you also just add on to what we might have missed from Aine's presentation? Thank you.
That link hiyo ya iko kwa calendar.
Wentland, kindly mute. Washington, please come in.
Thank you, Cyprus, and the entire mix team for having us today. Once again, to team, my name is Washington Ogol. I'm the founder and CEO of Nyumbani Greens. And just as just like you've said, there's been a component of introduction in the video that we did regarding our work. So I'll not delve so much into really what we do at Nyumbani Greens, but really at brief. In very simple terms, what we do is aggregate African indigenous foodstuffs from rural parts of Kenya. That's for vegetables, chicken, and cereals, and bring to our Nairobi production center where we do validation. For vegetable, we only take two forms, which is basically blanching and fermentation. And then for the chicken, what we do with the kienyeji chicken or roadrunner chicken, what we do essentially is right now pre-boiling and then delivering to urban dwellers, particularly Nairobi metropolitan area. The pre-boiled or rather the pre-cooked foodstuffs at their doorsteps. So just like you said, I think MEX was really instrumental to us. When we did start this project about 2 years back, that is in the year 2024, February or March thereabout, we started it in a very simple way. We didn't imagine that it would scale that fast, because essentially what people are looking at is convenience. People are looking to in the modern sector, the ultra fast modern dwelling, people are really looking for how they can be able to eat nutritious foodstuffs, but then the biggest challenge that they have is limited time in terms of preparation, and also around efficiency of access. So we are jumping in to basically aggregate, source these vegetables from rural smallholder farmers where they're not able really to get into, and then to basically pre-cook that for them to reduce their cooking time in the kitchen from basically ideally foodstuffs like kienyeji chicken would basically cook for around 2 to 3 hours before it's actually ready for frying. So that is where we really come in, pre-boil, and then ensure that by the time you're having it in your kitchen, you just prepare it in about 3 minutes. Since the inception of this and the launch, I think when MEX jumped in, we were serving about 3,000 households to date. I'm glad to actually mention that these numbers actually more than doubled. We are serving in the upwards of 7,000 plus households, with a return rate of in the upwards of 70%, just to confirm that people actually in this urban setting really require this pre-cooked food stuff. Just also jump in the aspect of electric cooking. I think before the MEX project, largely we were using charcoal, especially for pre-boiling the likes of githeri, yellow beans, and even chicken, because people really sort of used to mention that they prefer slow cooked food stuff and all of that. So we were largely using GCOs and in some cases LPG. But then I think when MEX program really came in, it was such an eye opener for us with the increasing demand for these foodstuffs that really take a long time to boil. We had to have people really working overnight, pre-boiling the githeris, the yellow beans, roscocos, and all that overnight. But nowadays, I can really confirm that with the advent of pressure cookers, electric pressure cookers that we were able to deploy, we were able to do that on demand, and that really increases the number of punnets that we are really able to sell in a day, and also in terms of freshness. So basically, what we are selling is more or less delivered JIT. So when you order chicken right now, we are able to, slaughter the chicken and then really pre-cook it and deliver it to you in a span of just like 1 hour. So this essentially has been very, very useful to us in the advent of scaling of production that we really required. Also, I think in the video you've also been able to see the aspect of the boilers. So there's the solar water boiler and also the electric water boiler that we were able to deploy somewhere around last year. This actually reduced our cooking time from almost 2 to 3 hours in a batch of production to just about 15 minutes. And how is this happening? Because our blanching process for vegetable largely depends on water. Currently we use in the upwards of 10,000 liters of water on a a daily basis. That includes the washing process and the cooking process. So the cooking would probably take about around 2,000 of the 10,000, and that is normally, we are able to have that already preheated using either the solar water boiler or also using the electric water boiler. Sometimes we use them interchangeably depending on the weather. So overall, I think one thing that this has proven from a demand factor is that people are really looking into getting pre-cooked foodstuffs to really drive efficiency. And in the urban sector, in the advent of really limited time, people really want to get things that they'll be able to prepare in the kitchen in the shortest possible time. And this is actually confirmed by the, the return rate that we have with the customers who are really preferring this pre-cooked aspect of the food product that we offer. In terms of electric cooking, I think the pressure cookers have really been very instrumental in terms of really enabling us meet the demands for the pre-cooking of the produce that we have, particularly kienyeji chicken, githeri, and the cereals, the yellow beans and the rest. And then for the vegetables, I think the technologies again around pre-cooking, like for the pre-boilings of these the pre-boilings of the water that we use for the cooking process actually has really enabled us to double this. And we are really confident with the ongoing expansion that we are doing. We should be able to deploy more of this solarization of that, of the boilers and all of that, and bringing on board more pressure cookers. I think that will really be able to help us meet the increasing or the doubling capacity day on day. So I think overall, I'll stop at that point and maybe jump in the coming phases just to touch on a few areas. Over to you, Cyrus.
Thank you, Washington. You see, you had something else to add. Very great information for us. And I think a lot of you are already touching on the next question. There's a lot of information on demand, who your customers are. But I think I would like to maybe get a bit of emphasis on that particular, because we need to understand where is your demand? Where do you see the greatest demand with regards to pre-cook and pre-cook food? And I think just to understand what is the value of these pre-cooked foods to the Kenyan households and the commercial customers. So maybe 2 minutes each to maybe just provide more emphasis on that particular area before we look at what are some of the market challenges you as entrepreneurs, as innovators are facing. So I would like to give Karen this, because I think from her presentation, it didn't come out clearly whether she's also targeting the, if her market is targeting commercial settings, or rather you're just focusing on households. I think for Nyumbani Greens, it's a bit clear that they're also working closely with the commercial settings. So maybe you can provide more emphasis on that. And then I think Fiona as well.
Okay, thank you for that, Cyprus. You said I should clarify on the client's end. I missed the second thing, or rather the first thing you mentioned.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, where do you see your greatest demand? Like, which market segment do you think you see the demand going?
Okay. So my business primarily, let me begin with my setting. It's set up in areas what I think we mostly call the hood or the ghetto. And originally the business model was targeting the households only, but we realized other than the households are a market. There are many, but in terms of the incomes from households can be a little, particularly because they mostly target boiling as a service. And for boiling as a service, we charge 40 shillings per kg of food. So literally any food that anyone requires to boil, a kilogram of it, we charge 40 shillings for boiling, the boiling service. My key target markets, household was the primary when we were beginning, but over time, over the 2-year period of operation, where most of our demand has come from is at the kibandaskis. So for Kenyan context, kibandaski are the small eateries by the roadside where literally anyone can pop in and just, eat. Most of them just do chapatis and beans, chapatis and dengus, and they sell quite a lot in terms of volume. And so that is where our greatest demand is currently coming from, the kibandaskis. And you can literally plan your service with them, if I could say that, because their orders are constant. Say from Monday to Saturday, they usually have orders, with a few scattered working on Sunday. And that is where our greatest demand is coming from. Also, an area that is really growing, and even their demands are going past our boiling as a service, are the ECDs and the daycares, where we leave our children. And because this service is increasing in the peri-urban areas, with parents going out for work, the ECDs and daycares are also making orders. And now, like I said in my introduction, is that we currently have 12 that we have a written agreement with them, and so we provide them with batches of pre-boiled foods. Of the 12, we have 4 that actually now just want the food itself. So we boil. There is the element of sauteing that comes in, and also maybe cooking rice for them. So it's chapati that we took a step back from cooking, because with the current operations, we cannot meet the demand for chapati yet. And so the 4 of them ask for food that is ready. So usually it's just maybe beans with rice, or bean or dengu with rice. And so the ECDs also. In terms of household, from the data I was just looking at it 2 weeks ago, we have 400 households that are repeat clients. So some are ordering from outside the locality, are set, but also some are ordering from within the locality, where it's just delivered to them. So that is what our customer base looks like. So we have 400 households that we currently serve. We have 18 kibandaskis. The Gen Zs would say sure bet that we work with Monday to Saturday, and we have 12 ECDs that we currently serve. So at the moment, I cannot put a number to the university students we serve. They are the major clients of the pre-boiled batches. So they just come, maybe they buy dengu or beans at 20 shillings, 30 shillings, depending on what they want, and then they go sauteing in their homes to suit their taste. So that is what our customer base currently looks like. And this is something that is currently growing. And I was thinking to myself the other day, because we only have the 8-liter size EPCs, and that is becoming a challenge in itself, because we are sometimes unable to meet the ever-growing daily demand from our customers. That's it, Cyprus.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Thank you for those additional information. I think there is a question for you on the chat. Maybe you can already, you might have already answered some of those questions that Richard has posed to you, but also if you could address that in the meantime, we'll really appreciate. Yeah, so Adrian, would you like to maybe clarify who your target market is? I think for Nyumbani Greens is a bit clear. So Washington, I'll ask you a different question. Adrian, in 2 minutes, please.
Yes, so Pion has 2 arms of clients that we do have. So we primary focus is on institutional markets, but we also serve households and also SMEs as well as a secondary target audience. As mentioned, as you can see, the 2 images here, these are for institutional clients. And we also do have smaller iterations of our pressure cookers, 50 liters, 60 liters, and 75 liters, ideally meant to help for SMEs, especially for these institutions or these businesses that are doing kibadanskis or boiling as a service. We also have a boiling as a service arm within Fion Green Ventures Limited. Ideally, main focus there also is just to be able to reach out to serving clients within a certain locality. We have one at Kasarani, so we serve the people within the Kasarani area, be it masons, carpenters, saloonists, students, and even households within that particular region. So those 2 primary focuses, and then there are sub branches of the people we focus on. So in brief, in a nutshell, those are the people that we really serve, and those are our particular target audiences as a company at the moment.
All right, yeah, thank you, Adrian. I think from your presentation, all of it's very clear that food, you're serving a pre-cooked food. So obviously issues around food quality, safety issues is something that a lot of consumer needs to have confidence in. So just a question to Nyumbani Greens, because I think from your presentation, again, you are offering a wide variety of food, different food, kinds of foods. So what has been the, how do you ensure that your pre-cooked products maintain quality, nutrition, and consistency? Because I think also from your background, you have a health background, so I'm assuming this is really something that is crucial to your company. So maybe you can also elaborate on that.
Thanks so much, Cyprus. I think my background is largely on data engineering, but I've been privileged to work largely or rather work with organizations within the health space, pharmaceutical, non-for-profit, and Ministry of Health in country. But direct to your question around quality assurance. So initially, I think I had mentioned that we started this about 2 years ago. It wasn't really a big concern, but as we've been growing our customer base, I think it's something that has been really, really critical for us to observe. So just to mention that quality assurance is a very key part of the service that we do offer. So recently, I think we just signed an MOU with the University of Nairobi. They are going to support us with their interns to really help us in matters to do with food safety. But at the very basic stage, what we did is we came up with the SOPs on kitchen operations. So what are the basic standards that we really look at from the sourcing of our produce? What are the critical data points that we look at in terms of the quality of vegetable produce that we receive? In terms of food handling, I think there's the basic public health practices that are exercised within the kitchen. So that starts basically with the operational stuff. So do they have food handling certificates? And they're the basic checks that are done before an officer is really presented with these food handling certificates. So we ensure that everybody working within the kitchen department really is compliant to this. And then additionally, we are also working, we've been working closely with KEBS. It has taken us quite a long time because there were some challenges, for example, with the premises in terms of the structural design of the premise, which we've been working on, and I think we are just completing that in the coming month. We've been in construction stages, including things to do with epoxy flooring and all of that. So I think just to aid those processes and all of that, KEBS has really been supporting us and pushing us to the wall to ensure that those are really compliant. So it's a mashup of working closely with these government institutions to really ensure that the practices are in place, and also building internal SOPs to create guardrails around the practices that we have around food handling. And then internally, we also have a dedicated quality assurance person who basically deals with the entire value chain from sourcing to the final place where we hand over the produce to our riders for last mile delivery. So there are different standard checks that are done for the foods, and just to really ensure that they're safe for the end users. Over to you, Cyprus.
Thank you, Washington, for that. I have a final question because I need to also give our participants, our stakeholders on the call, an opportunity to ask a few questions. But please, in the meantime, can we also just send our questions on the chat, and so that if the speakers are also able to answer those as we progress. So I have a final question because I think it's really important. A lot of market challenges is something that we cannot evade. Every innovation, every technology sometimes gets to experience some sort of a push and pull. So I just wanted, we wanted to understand, what are some of the challenges you have faced while building the market for pre-cooked food products, and how have you addressed this? So if you could address it in this manner, like what are some of in terms of consumer attitude towards pre-cooked food, the logistical challenges, especially Washington, we could see that you have a number of riders you can see on the screen. And also just to understand what is Fion doing in terms of delivery of this food, how is the affordability issue like? Because then again, if the costs are not realistic, then you also have a challenge in terms of selling these products to your households. And this, I think, also is something that I think Karen can also emphasize on, being that you are operating in a space or that will rather considered as a low income earning community. So maybe, yeah, I would like to hear from Karen, because we've just spoken to Washington, and then we do Fionn. Each 1 minute, please, just to go straight to the point. Yeah, what that looks like.
Okay, thank you for that, Cyprus. I'll pick from the last thing you said about income. And it's true, our setting has quite a number of low income individuals. And for me, what I did as a business is I acknowledge the challenge to some extent, know what that feels like. And so I have within my how clients make payments. There are those who do one-off payments, like you come, you do the boiling, and then you pick your food. And because of those ones are the ones who are able to afford that fee and stuff. But for those who are unable and only can get small portions of money over time to pay, I have what we call aid. So any amount they have, they bring it. I have my records, and then we have documentation. I have about 7 of them. Yeah. So they make earlier on payments, and then they come and ask for the service, or they come and buy the food whenever they need it. So I have that to curb the issue of low income, and also just, risk running into debts and the business failing. Some of the challenges I have had over time, especially when I was beginning, was on the customer skepticism, because where we are, people are used to boiling their foods using biomass. And so I was introducing an entirely new concept to them. And so there were issues around, concerns around, cooking with electricity brings cancer. I know some of us have had this. The taste is different and stuff. And it took a lot of time to convince them and just tell them. At some point when I just had my shop outside on a weekend, I just cooked some food to do a tasting. So I cooked githeri, I cooked beans, and I cooked rice also. And so anyone who was coming was given a small portion to taste. So I did that tasting for about 4 weekends. And so the conversations around them being skeptical about cooking with electricity really reduced. And at some point, some of them were curious to know, how do they cook with electricity? How do their appliances work? And so when I started getting feedback on curiosity on how their appliances work, then I realized that that barrier had been broken. The other issue that I'm still facing is the issue of what I have. The other issue I'm facing is the capacity, and what I have currently is an 8-liter EPC, about 8-liter EPC, 6 of them. That is what I have. But even with the 6, I cannot successfully meet the entire demand. And I just saw a post the other day by Nyalore Impact that they are looking to venture into larger capacity EPCs. And so that is exciting to know that they're there, because at the moment also a 100-liter one is too big for me, but something bigger than a 10-liter would at least help mitigate the challenge. The last one in terms of business operation is employees onboarding. That's quite the challenge, because from time to time, in as much as I have SOPs for standardization of the processes, then there always comes the issue of training employees, and employees can leave whenever they want. You cannot hold them hostage. So yeah, I think I'll pause there for my colleagues to build on further.
Thank you, Karen. Washington.
Yeah, thanks. I think more or less when it comes to individual customers, we face the same challenges as Karen. I think the only difference for us has been the commercial part, where we sell directly to B2B. That's the restaurants and all of that. So in terms of market access and market entry, it's more or less been a very new concept. What we've been able to sell to the HoReCa industry has been largely vegetables, where we supply them the pre-cooked vegetables. So what they do is the final dressing and all of that. The challenge, just like for any other SME, then becomes things like payment terms, even as when you penetrate and get markets to sell to, the challenge then becomes the payment terms. So whereby larger companies or corporates will request you to take 90 to 120 days before payment is made. That really becomes a stretch for SME businesses. And then secondly is now when it comes to market access, again, selling this concept to very many hotel industries really becomes a problem, because people really don't get to see how this is in terms of practicability, how they're able to use that. But we've been able to get into some 2 and 3, and we've been created videos and created sort of like marketing strategies that we can then use to approach other markets. But it's still difficult, very hard to sell a model when it comes to the HoReCa industries. For B2C, direct to consumers, is very straightforward. And one of the confirmation, again, as I said earlier, is the return rate. So we have over 70%. That's a confirmation that people are really confident around pre-cook. The only thing that I do see that they are very keen on is things to do again with quality assurance and food. So the track and trace, where is their food coming from? Is it healthy? Is it safe? Is it safe from the harmful chemicals that we've seen as a sort of a trend in Kenya? So those are the kind of guarantees that they really want to see. So as a company, we've been working backwards around backwards integration to be able to guarantee our clients that the vegetables, the chicken they're eating are free of harmful chemicals and all of that. Because remember, the biggest chunk of clients that we do serve are health conscious clients. So for B2C, not quite a challenge. For B2B, of course, the imminent challenges with the SMEs and repayment, and also, being a new concept, it's quite difficult really to sell. I think everything else, I think we share with Karen, so I wouldn't really want to delve more into that. So I'll pause there.
Yeah, thank you, Washington. Adrian, anything to add?
I think for the most part at this moment, I've already mentioned some of the challenges we do experience. But
Yeah.
just to mention, in the small segment, it's usually about affordability, and also for institutions. It's across board the same way. Therefore, we just come up with financial models, especially for institutions, to best achieve it. So we have lease to own models that enable that. For small scale, when it comes to boiling as a service, we offer lower rates in accordance, since we serve different personas, masons, carpenters, residents, students as well, and having that in consideration. So being able to curate the pricing per kg in accordance to what ideally meets the threshold for what a company can be able to do in terms of profit making, while also showcasing impact and targeting also on the affordability across board. So these are the things that we look at, and we try as much as possible with economic changes. We also try and track the behavioral change of the customer and curate the pricing in accordance to that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adrian. Great information. I've been looking at our chat. I think I only see one question. If there's one I'm missing, please raise your hand and share. But Karen, you had a question from Richard. Okay, yeah, so I think to some extent you've answered some of it, but maybe, yeah, I think you can provide more context if you missed some. So he's saying, what is the approximate turnaround time for someone bringing their own food to be boiled or cooked? And then what are your customers, mainly those that bring food to cook or those that buy pre-boiled foods? Are you seeing any trends there? So if you can quickly answer that, then yeah, we can move to the next segment.
Thank you, Richard, for those questions. The first one, the time is 45 minutes. That is for boiling, including the ones we sell. The second one, are your customers mainly those that bring food to be cooked? Or so at the moment, our customers mostly buy pre-boiled foods, but that does not, in terms of comparison of the two, the pre-boiled foods have many clients compared to the boiling as a service. Boiling as a service, on a weekly basis, we have an average of about 180 80. That is working Monday to Saturday, an average of about 80. And for pre-boiled foods, earlier on when we just began, we grew from 30 kgs, moving on. At some point, we were flat at 100 kgs for a while, and then gradually, as the information kept spreading out to the clients, we currently boil an average of 400 kgs of pre-boiled foods per week. So pre-boiled foods is, in terms of demand, it's generally increasing. I hope that answers your question. I'm also happy to clarify further should you need any further clarifications. Yes, Cyprus.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, for that. I don't see any other question. Do we have any question, either questions for the panelists or even for Aini for the earlier presentation? I see there's already a question from Elizabeth. Karen, in terms of back-to-back use, how does that affect the appliance? I see we are over time, but if we can finalize in the next 5 minutes, that will be great. So Karen, do you want to respond? I think this is about frequent use of the electric appliance.
So I would say this, answer this in 2 parts. Part 1 is the first EPC I began with in 2023 in my household. It's recently in February that it gave up. That is the first breakdown. So when I went to have it repaired, the cost of repairing the parts was quite expensive than buying a new EPC. So that is the first one that has broken down. So my approximate time to have an EPC of that capacity working back to back as we are is a maximum of 2.5 years to 3 years. And also, during introduction, Cyprus said that I'm an electrical engineer. So I also gained a lot of interest in just knowing the electrical systems of the EPC and how I can possibly repair. So I do quarterly maintenance of the EPCs. So just one day where we close, and then I do the maintenance of the EPCs, and then we pick up operations. So after that broke down, I began to do quarterly maintenance. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Yeah, I was just trying to see if we have any other question. I think when Aini was presenting, she mentioned some of our colleagues from the MEX team that also work around the pre-cook food segment of work. So I was wondering if Jacob or Richard, you had any reflections before we close. And I also saw Anastasia. I had initially invited her to speak. Anastasia works for SCOD. They also do pre-boiling as a service. I don't see her here now. I don't know if she's still here. I was wondering if she could say 1 or 2. But then, yeah, as I check, maybe let's hear from Richard or Jacob if there's any reflection you guys have.
Hi all. Nothing major to add, I guess, except to note that this is an active research area for us, and we're continuing to look into initiatives and see how we can understand the sector better and support various initiatives. So please do get in touch if you see anything of interest or if the presentation by Aina has stimulated any thoughts. We'd be happy to hear about you and see what more we can learn about the pre-cook sector. So I'll leave it there, but thanks all to the presentations, and it was a very rewarding experience and very rewarding projects with all the people we're involved with, and it's great to hear about the other ones which are ongoing from Karen and Adrian. So yes, I'll leave it there and pass back to you, Cyprus. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jacob. Anything from Richard?
Hi, Cyprus. No, nothing further to add from me. I think Jake has covered it, and just to say thank you to everyone for these really interesting presentations and discussions. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Richard. Aini, I would like to also bring you back. I think when you were doing a presentation, you talked about a Kenyan case and it was Nyumbani Greens. How do you feel now that you've learned about two other innovators or other entrepreneurs who are doing the same? I also mentioned we had Anastasia from SCOD. I don't think she's still on the call. But yeah, I think at some point we'll be able to get more about what they do and share. But yeah, maybe just to hear your reflection after their submission.
No, absolutely. So for me, pre-cook was a fairly new field when I started working on these products, and I just see that I think all three companies were talking about expansion and how eCooking helped them expand and reach new clients and reach new areas. So I feel like this is kind of the most inspiring part, is really like eCooking, we can see that really helps people scale. And this is kind of reoccurring theme in all these three businesses. And yeah, so really, really great examples and great companies to hear from. So I'm probably not going to talk anymore because I think I took a little bit too much time at the beginning. That's why we have a shorter Q&A discussion at the end. So yeah, and I really hope, as Jacob mentioned, we will continue working in this field because it really has a huge potential and from innovation's point of view, and it's really emerging that we can see that we can enable local farmers, women's groups, youth, entrepreneurs. It's really connected, and I feel like it can create a huge impact on local business ecosystem. So thank you all for sharing your experiences.
Yeah, thank you, Aini. I was actually taking notes, but yeah, we are over time and I don't want to belabor on what you've already discussed. But I think coming in, this was also new for myself. And I think it's a very, very interesting emerging opportunity, like Aini has said, that we need to all support, because we've all heard from the entrepreneurs, the innovators, how useful this is for households, of course, in terms of time saving, cost saving, because as we all know, for those who are within the eCooking space, that already the cost of appliances is an issue. So if people can still benefit from cooking using these technologies without necessarily buying the entire appliance, that will be really, really great. So something that I'll pose to the eCooking community that is present here is how can we support and strengthen the pre-cooking ecosystem and accelerate eCooking adoption. The reason I'm posing this is because from their presentation, I think a lot of them mentioned how things shifted for them after the MEX came in. And this is not to beat our own drums, it's just to highlight the importance of supporting entrepreneurs, supporting SMEs for them to be able to scale whichever initiatives they're doing that are all leading to the broader vision of transitioning our communities to more cleaner cooking solutions. So I would like to thank the panel. Thank you, Aini, for setting the scene for this particular discussion. I would also like to thank Washington, Karen, Adrian for creating time and sharing this breadth of knowledge that you've shared with us. I think it has changed our perspectives. It has given entrepreneurs on the call new ideas. We might have more entrepreneurs coming into space to also start doing pre-boiling. So that will be great to hear. But I think overall, we are grateful for the audience for staying this long and for joining the discussions today. Please look out for other webinars that we might be sharing soon. But otherwise, we will want to wish you a good day and thank you for your patience. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Cyprus.
Bye-bye.